Welcome to this interactive explainer workshop. Today, we're actually stepping completely away from the usual math of personal finance, and we're looking at something a whole lot more profound. We are here to explore the internal psychological barriers to wealth. We're going to look really closely at the invisible mental architecture that keeps people stuck, and we are going to do it with absolutely zero judgment and zero blame. So if you're a focused learner looking to truly understand the root mechanics of wealth and poverty, you are definitely in the right place.
Okay, let's dive into this. It's kind of an uncomfortable icebreaker, isn't it? Is poverty mostly about money or the mind? Well, economists, psychologists, and behavioral scientists have literally spent decades studying this exact question. And what they've found shifts the focus entirely away from external circumstances and squarely onto our internal conditioning. It turns out the absolute biggest barriers to your financial success might just be living inside your own head.
So here is our syllabus for today's workshop. We've got a really clear step-by-step journey of self-reflection ahead of us. We'll start with the invisible wealth barrier, move into identifying your personal money scripts, tackle present bias, unlearn learn helplessness, confront the social cost of wealth, and finally, wrap the whole thing up with rewiring your financial identity. Let's get right to it. Section 1, the invisible wealth barrier, breaking down the scarcity mindset. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that before we can even talk about building wealth, we have to understand how poverty itself creates the exact mental conditions that make it incredibly hard to escape. It's this psychological feedback loop called tunneling. Psychologists found that when you're entirely focused on not having enough, whether that's money, time, or food, your cognitive bandwidth literally shrinks. Your brain gets forced into a short-term crisis mode. When you're tunneling on survival, you literally cannot think long-term. And this explains why someone might take out a devastating payday loan or totally ignore a retirement account. It's not a lack of intelligence. It is literally a brain borrowing from its own future to put out a massive fire in the present. Section 2, identifying your money scripts, the stories you inherited. We are moving from the mechanics of scarcity into some deeply personal territory here. Money scripts are these intensely ingrained, unconscious beliefs about money that actually govern our emotions and our identity. And here is the vital thing to understand. These scripts do not live in your logical mind. You could literally read all the financial literacy books in the world, but if your money scripts haven't changed, they're going to quietly self-destruct your wealth-building efforts. Why? Simply because your core identity hasn't changed. Let's look at a few really common ones. Money is the root of all evil. Rich people are greedy. We're not the kind of people who have a lot of money. It's selfish to want more, right? Do any of these sound familiar? If you grew up hearing these, your brain made a super strong association. For someone who heard this stuff constantly, actively trying to become wealthy subconsciously feels like trying to become a bad person. This is exactly why we see lottery winners go completely broke. The bank account changed, but the internal script didn't. I want to take a deliberate workshop pause right here. Think about it. What is your hidden money script? Seriously, I want you to take a moment of actual silence right now to think about the phrases you heard around the dinner table growing up. Identifying that specific subconscious financial barrier is the absolute first step to breaking it. Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 3, beating your present bias, the enemy of wealth building. This bias introduces a completely fascinating psychological quirk that makes us consistently overvalue today at the profound expense of tomorrow. Consider a really simple choice, $100 today or $150 next month. If you just wait 30 days, you get a massive 50% return on your money. I mean, there's almost no investment on earth that reliably does that. Yet, behavioral scientists show that most people will totally irrationally choose the $100 today. Why? Simply because the present feels real and the future feels entirely abstract. Economists actually call this hyperbolic discounting. It's dramatically overvaluing present comfort over future gain. It's why we spend instead of invest, or, why we skip the gym today but swear we'll absolutely start on Monday. The secret here is that building wealth requires the exact psychological opposite of our natural wiring. It requires consistently sacrificing today's comfort for tomorrow's gain. And that means you have to deliberately rewire your natural impulses. Section 4. Unlearning learned helplessness, the cycle of repeated failure. And this brilliantly illustrates why we have to look at psychologist Martin Seligman's famous experiments from the 1960s. His findings map almost perfectly onto the human experience of generational poverty. Look at this timeline. In year 1, a person's effort is repeatedly punished by a broken system. By year 5, the brain rationally concludes that trying just doesn't work. By year 10, there's a complete withdrawal of effort.
and that forms an invisible prison. What looks like laziness from the outside is actually a completely rational response to an irrational amount of failure over time.
So how in the world do you break out of a prison made of learned helplessness? Well, you can't just tell someone to think big. It doesn't work. Rebuilding belief requires tiny, undeniably small wins. You actually have to start with goals that are almost laughably small, just to prove to your brain with hard, undeniable evidence that your actions actually have consequences again. Rebuilding belief in your own agency, that's the real work.
Section 5. The social cost of wealth. The price of acting rich.
This right here is a massive emotional barrier that rarely gets discussed. For a lot of people, especially those in really tight-knit, struggling communities, accumulating wealth can secretly feel like a huge betrayal. You might have actually heard of crab mentality. It's where crabs in a bucket will actively pull down the one crab trying to escape. This perfectly mirrors the social friction around success. But the danger isn't just the external pressure from friends or family, it's internal. People will self-limit. They'll actively downplay their own ambition because they're terrified that success will make them completely unrecognizable to the people they love and rely on. So the crucial point is this: humans are wired to prioritize belonging over almost everything else, including financial gain. Think about it. Your biological evolutionary need for a tribe, just to feel safe and accepted, will very often completely outweigh your desire for a larger bank account. You absolutely have to be aware of this friction if you want to overcome it. Section 6. Rewiring your financial identity, the core psychological shift. Finally, we are putting down the financial math completely, and we're focusing entirely on your fundamental identity. Because people don't rise to their goals, they fall to their identity. It's so true. If you set a goal to make $1 million, but you still fundamentally see yourself as someone who always struggles with money, you will unconsciously find ways to lose, spend, or give away that new wealth just to confirm your old identity. Your reality always has to match your self-image. So you have to painstakingly rewrite that internal story. And here are the 3 literal steps to do exactly that. Step 1, consume different information. You have to change what goes into your mind daily. Step 2, spend time around different people. Go find individuals who already have what you want and normalize that reality for yourself. Step 3, rewrite your story. Actively challenge your old money scripts and draft a brand new narrative about what is actually possible for someone like you. All right, let's quickly summarize the internal barriers we've unlearned in this explainer today. We looked at the tunneling of the scarcity mindset, the inherited money scripts we carry around, our completely natural present bias, the trap of learned helplessness, the very real fear of losing social belonging, and finally, operating on an outdated identity. Now, I really want to remind you that while none of this is easy to fix, every single one of these psychological blocks is entirely changeable, and all just starts with awareness. Which leaves us with this final provocative piece of workshop homework. Who do you need to become? Seriously, think about it. It's not about what you need to do or what you need to buy. If your identity is the true ceiling on your wealth, I challenge you to grow your identity to match your absolute highest